Hey everybody, JJ here, back again with another Wednesday of Zoom networking. And boy, oh boy, do we have a phenomenal guest speaker today. If you don't love real estate after this call, you're going to love real estate and love our guest speaker. She's absolutely amazing. She's been a guest speaker for us before. Can't say enough about this wonderful lady. You know, I say it all the time, the best part of what we do are the relationships we make. You know, the money's all part of it, but you know, it's when you make great friends and associate yourself with phenomenal people that you really see what a wonderful life you live. And this young lady is no exception to the gold and great value that has come into my life as a result of what I'm doing. I'd like to introduce you to my good friend, Amanda Holbrook. How are you, Amanda?
I'm great. Thank you, JJ. Hugs over the Zoom.
Hugs, 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 hugs. So, for those that don't know you, where in the country are you located?
I'm in Cleveland, Ohio.
Are
OH.
you really? Yeah, I knew you were in the Midwest, but I actually, Samantha and I have a property in Cleveland.
Yeah, on East Side, right?
Yeah, we're just west of downtown. I think I want to call it the Shaker District.
It's a big division. Yeah. You're that.
Stockyards, Stockyards.
Oh, Stockyards West. Yeah.
We are west, and
Yeah. We
so
had this conversation. That's right.
we're
You are West.
we're looking for some more. So maybe we'll talk about that in another day. You and I met through, I guess, as a result of my first educational community, which was called Fortune Builders.
Hmm.
And there were many people when I started doing my Zoom calls, and I was asking people if they could recommend someone to speak, someone who's talented and smart and just be great to share content and value. Your name kept popping up all over the place. I'm like, okay, I got to go hunt this woman down. So, I want to ask, obviously I've met you through the real estate community, but what were you doing before you became a real estate investor? Let's say from your teens into your 20s, we go to high school and to college. Sometimes with people in the military, they go right into the workforce, whether it be, fast food or retail or the medical field. What were you doing from your teens to your 20s, and was real estate a part of that journey, or did real estate come later? I know you're what, like 24 now or something, but
Yeah. Stick with that and holding for many years now. Um, but yeah, I mean, I went the, traditional college route, went to Kent State. You guys will know I'm a big nerd and a driver. Like, totally got my, that's my MO. But I did a 5-year program, 3.5 years, minor business marketing, but majored in advertising.
okay.
Um, yeah, so I started in the, Fortune 500 world with Clear Channel doing radio sales and, top producer right out of the gate, hungry hippos, right? As we all are. Um, but yeah, it was like all of 21. And I figured out how to buy a HUD home. And I'm like, this is like buying a house on eBay. This is so cool. Yeah, that like just dates me right there. But that was like the bug that bit me. I'm like, okay, I can, I'm great at this communication thing. I've always been a big connector, big people person, very creative. Yeah, and that was the bug that bit me. So I ended up going into the finance route from the lending side right before the implosion. So literally had like a front freaking row seat to see all of that writing on the wall, stepping back like this can't be normal. Well, it wasn't. Um, and that's when I found what peer-to-peer lending was in my mid 20s. So went with the 900-pound gorilla, and to tell you like your network is, I know that you're huge on this, and that's why I love it. So stroll into that interview, right? And I'm all nervous because you just get nervous with interviews. I don't care how experienced you are. And sitting across from me is my now partner here at Specialized, Keith Marsh, who we grew up together at Catholic school. Yeah, we went to grade school together. So I'm like in the bag, got it. But then, during that journey, I met my other mentor, which was Edwin Kelly. He's another partner in the firm, co-founder of Specialized Trust. So that kind of tells you, kind of the long story. So yeah, I've been in this industry for 15 years now. 6 of that I managed turnkey portfolios for one of the largest turnkey family-owned companies in the country. So helps a lot of people retire with real estate and all along that journey. I was over here chugging my own Kool-Aid, building up my own little Monopoly board, a cash flow game, for myself, my now husband and two kids, So yeah, that's, the 90-second journey of Amanda Holbrook's life.
It's just amazing to see what you've done, and your personality is so outstanding. I mean, you're magnetic. And have you always had this vibrance? Has it always been you?
Yeah, yeah, it's kind of, yeah.
Yeah,
I've
and I
always been
kind of
very happy-go-lucky, very energetic. Um, you know, here's a tissue, don't cry about it, just get over it, move on. Um, like, yeah, life's gonna throw you crap, just deal with it, move on, find the brighter things, every problem can be solved. That's why I like what I do. Everyone comes to me like, oh, I can't figure this out. It's just like a puzzle, we'll call it big kid puzzles. Um,
yeah.
but yeah, that's the fun part. And it's life's too short to go through it like with a, RBF.
Your topic today is unlocking OPM with self-directed IRA.
Mm-hmm.
Now we've got, possibly a couple new people on the call. Most of us know what OPM is, and people are going to be watching on YouTube weeks and months down the line. But for those that don't know, let's go over the two abbreviations. What is OPM?
Okay, so we're going to go over this in detail, okay, for all of you that are new to it. But other people's money. And I live in acronym world, literally IRA is individual retirement account. So if I use an acronym or a phrase, you're like, huh? Put it in there. I tell you what, JJ, I'm up over probably, I think its last count was like 132 acronyms that I will test new hires out on between like IRA, finance, and the real estate world.
I would fail that.
It's like it's funny, like it's meant to be funny, a funny part of the training, but because you hear so many of them, it's like, and some of them have dual, triple meaning. It's nuts, but yeah, you guys call me on it. I'm as laid back as they come. One of my, other than my sunny disposition here, I could take something that's super complicated, like the revenue code, and just break it down in freaking plain English and how it applies to you, your business, your family, your personal scenario, your deal. And if it makes sense, great, move forward. If it doesn't make sense, okay, on to the next. It's, life's too short. This is my point. And that's the cool part. So can I share my screen? Appropriate time?
Yes, you can. You go right ahead.
Oh, okay. All right. So this is what JJ was referring to, guys. I'm sure we all need OPM. We all need some money, right? We all need money for our deals. That's where it all starts. And the thing we're going to talk about are self-directed IRAs. So I'm going to dig into all of that. So we're all like jumping from the same starting point. And there's a few things that they make me do because yes, we are a financial firm. Legal. Yeah. Ready? Specialized trust companies, passive custodian, would recommend or endorse any certificate that's a sponsor or non-attorneys SVs or protect the legal advice for passive custodians and infotainment purpose only. Again, we don't recommend or endorse any certificate investor as a sponsor. Bam. Yeah, so we don't sell investments. That's the difference. Yeah, we don't have our own agenda over here. And that's a big difference between us and others in the financial world. JJ, you were just so flattering and talking about me, and I gave you guys like my bio. I do this. You could tell I love people. Look at your screen. I network. I love connecting. I've helped countless individuals and businesses thrive by using the tools that we're going to touch on today. So whether you're haven't even started your business, you're at the very beginning, or you're here on chapter 25, it has a spot in there. It's definitely a tool you want in the toolbox. Okay. So before we get started, everyone needs to know what is working against you, right? We're solving problems. So we all got problems, right? Amen. But here we all have the same problems for this conversation, guys. So know thy enemy. The enemies that I am referring to here are, dun, 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 dun. You talking about retirement accounts, you think of the stock market, right? My point is with the stock market, yes, it's tried and true. It's been around a long time, but there's no control there. You're up and down. You're at the mercy of all of these outlying factors that you have no, I always like to say, control. There we go. That's better. You have no control over the stock market. You don't know if it's going up or down. You don't know what yahoos are doing in the boardroom. But we are taught to start our retirement savings by putting into items like stocks, bonds, mutual funds that we have no control of, which it's kind of backwards when you think of it, especially since a lot of us are real estate. Why do you like real estate? It's tangible, you know, it's consistent, it's physical, it's a predictable outcome. You have multiple disposition strategies, tax advantageousness. Oh yeah. So those are just some of the things that we will touch on even deeper. Inflation. Inflation sucks. What is it really? Your guess is as good as mine. I don't think they ever really tell us the real number, but a dollar today does not go as far as the dollar did yesterday, so that means you've got to crunch your numbers that more finitely and just plan better and get more volume going, to make sure that you end ahead of the game. Now, taxes. Everyone, let's just give like a good, like, how do taxes make you feel? Ugh. All right. They're everywhere. I mean, when you do your deal analyzers, I mean, how much taxes you pay. I mean, we just passed the end deadline for 23 was just yesterday. And I know CPAs today are like probably having a party or day drinking, but taxes are everywhere. Okay. We have to keep them. It's not about what you make, what you keep, and that's a big part of what we're going to talk about today. All right. The other one, this is more from my area. One of the first questions I always get from folks when they don't know what questions to ask me are, well, Amanda, what are your fees for these self-directed things? I'm like, what do you pay for your accounts now? Your IRAs, 401ks. No one ever knows, so it's not expensive to do. But I tell you what, why no one knows? Because it's a lot. On average, it's like 6 to 7%, is what you're paying in fees in totality, from managed accounts. And that's a third party ICI, investment company institute stat. It's not me just pulling numbers out of thin air, but my point is when you're using vehicles, you should always know what you pay, so that you can calculate your net. And it's just math, with a self-directed account, you're looking at, say 1.25%, 1% and lower, as far as fees are concerned. And if you're in a small business, you get a tax credit, all right, for small business plans now, thanks to the passing of the Secure Act 2.0. So this guy is always at you. I want your money. I want your money. I want your money. Right. So we're going to make a plan because it's not about what you make. It's how much you keep. And I got to give the nod to Kiyosaki here for the rest of this one, because I think this is the important one when it comes to planning. It's not how hard it works for you. It's how many generations you keep it for. And I think just, over the past, 50 years plus that we're really starting to think more about this, so that we're not all on the same, I don't want to say struggle bus, but, we're making the plan so that, you don't want your kids to work as hard as you had to, right? Ideally as a parent, right? If you can make it easier, they're going to work for it. Don't get me wrong there, but we're going to make a plan. So, because if you fail to plan, you plan to. This is always a funny one because those of you who have done flips, you can relate. So, okay. So let's get to these whole self-directed IRA things. And what are they? So in retirement accounts, all right, I'm sure you guys have heard of traditionals, Roth, blah, 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 blah. And you have these big banks, and since it's being recorded, I won't name anybody by name, but, think of where your old 401ks are, okay? There are some when you log in your account, it will say on the screen that it's self-directed, but all they mean is that you can pick your mutual fund, your index fund, your stock yourself. And that is not true self-direction. True self-direction is when you can have these accounts and you can invest in real estate, whether it be rentals, flips, private lending, wholesaling, notes, LLCs. I mean, you could do, gold, crypto, cattle. I mean, the list goes on. The point is, guys, that true self-directed IRAs have been around since the 70s. Okay. So this is nothing that's brand spanking new at all. It's just the big banks don't really want you to know because they don't really make any money. if you're investing in real estate in your backyard, right? So this is a screenshotter for you. These are all the types of accounts that you can self-direct. So I want you guys to know, if I don't say self-directed in front of an account type, that's all we do. So whether it's traditional Roth, a solo K, which that's my triple threat of accounts for you guys. So I'm going to be talking about that one a lot. Simple SEPs, CISAs, health savings accounts, inherited accounts. These can all be self-directed. Now, since we're talking about OPM, this next one here, these are all types of accounts I hear of all the time, but you may not. So I want to kind of plant the seed here. So if you are raising private capital and using OPM, when you're having a conversation with someone that used to be a teacher and they say, oh, I have a 403B, or I have a PERS account or a TRS account. You're like, what does that mean? Again, acronyms, right? Those are just their version of a 401k. If you hear TSP, and you know what a TSP is on this call, thank you for your service. You were in the military, you've served in some role of government, and that's our government's version of a 401k. If you weren't active, I wouldn't expect you to know that. Same thing with like profit sharing, drop plans, defined benefits, KEOGs, ESOPs. These are all plans that are retirement accounts that can be self-directed. So here's like the ultimate screen share, take a picture of this screen cheat sheet, because these are what type of accounts can go into what type of accounts. So that when you are hearing or you're having those conversations with those that are in your sphere and outward, and you start to hear these, or your team hears, oh yeah, I had one of these, I want you to think, ching, because those are funds that you might be able to utilize. Like they might be able to fund your next deal. So let's talk about how they fund their next deal. So this is an important life lesson, I think, that we've all learned at some point, that size really does matter in self-directed accounts. Of course. We're just talking retirement accounts here, guys. So when I'm talking about the size of retirement accounts, I'm not talking about individuals. Think of this as a collective whole. How much money do you think is in retirement accounts? A ton. I'll tell you. Because you know how we're talking OPM as the title of today's talk, other people's money? We say OPI in our world. What do you think the I stands for? Shout it out if you know. Or put it in the chat. One of the two is okay.
I'd say interest.
Income.
Income. Okay. How about other people's IRAs?
Oh,
Because there's a lot out there. So there's over $38 trillion in retirement accounts, guys. That's a lot of freaking money. And some of you may be at that point in your business where you're like racking your brain or throwing stuff against the wall. Like, where am I going to get the funding for this next deal? Or this hard money is bleeding me dry. Like, it's just eating up all my profit. How can I keep more in my pocket? There is tons of money in retirement accounts, you guys. Okay. So of that 38.4 trillion, 148 billion of it, and it's hard to even conceptualize that. And I work with numbers all day long, and it's even hard for me to visualize that. But my point being, like when you talk to someone, the chances are they have an old 401k or an IRA that's just sitting out there that they could probably be doing better. And if they're lending to you, what are they for you? They're the bank, right? So what do banks lend on in this country? They lend on property, right? They have a first secure lien deed, second secure lien deed, or deed of trust, depending on your state. And then they are added to the insurance policy. What happens when a borrower does not pay the mortgage? What does the bank do? They take the house.
Yeah, they
right?
foreclose.
They foreclose, or you get a deed in lieu, right? I mean, that's their worst case scenario when someone has their retirement account as a lender on your deal. Worst case scenario, this wouldn't happen to anybody here, but if you fell on your face or something happened in the deal and you had to walk away, guess what? They take the property. Now they have a property that's worth more than what they lent on. So my point is, even your worst case scenario, is better than what happens if someone had all their money in one company's stock and the stock tanked. What are they left holding? Zero, right? They have no recourse. They just flushed it all down the toilet. Engage your audience, your sphere. So, something I want all of you guys doing is take out your pen and paper and write down 5 people that you know would bet on you, that may have changed jobs, that are in like your extended family, your friend group, your old colleagues, etc. Make that list of those people I want you to have a conversation with and ask them, are you satisfied with what your retirement account is earning for you? Post this on your social media. Do you know who's going to respond to this? Do you think you're going to get responses saying, oh, I'm just happy as a clam? No, you're going to have some ticked off people responding. And do you know what you just created yourself? A private money pipeline. Have those conversations. Do your shortcuts that JJ just showed you and get them on your calendar. Have that conversation. So for those of you that are using OPM, if you scan this here, I have put together just a resource. It's an educational kit that I'm happy to share with everyone on here. So once you register here, I'll email you. It's a bunch of information, short video of the, hey, did you know? Because you know what? How many of you know of self-direction before you got into this world? That self-directed IRAs were a thing. They know that's what you're Googling at night, right? You don't know unless you do that self-discovery to figure it out on your own. Let's talk diversification. What does this stuff look like? How do you get these set up? How long does it take? What does a deal look like? So when you have a private money lender, you have someone that says, hey, Jose, I'm going to bet on you. I'm going to fund your next flip. You're going to whip up a note and a mortgage for them, right? If they're using an IRA, there's one step you have to do before then. You have to connect them with me so I can open the account and get the funds where they need to be. So now you got some money to fund your deal. All that means is literally, we go through a consultative educational piece, get an account physically set up. It's literally a DocuSign, a statement, and ID. That's it. And once we have that in-house, I have a whole team. We're based in Albuquerque. They reach out and get the funds moved from A to B. That only takes 2 weeks or less. And when the funds are here, you're ready to do a deal. You're going to whip up that note and mortgage, and it has to be compliant with the state that they're lending in. Okay, so where the property's at. Okay. The key here is they're not lending from their personal checking account. They're lending from their IRA. Guess what IRA has? A name. So it's going to be, so Denise, I'm going to pick on you now. Specialized Trust Company Custodian for benefit of Denise's Roth IRA, 401k. Right? So now you have all of that. You email it over to us. Denise is going to complete this boss you around form with the title, the wiring instructions for the title company. It's going to close. It's going to get recorded. Does this sound like a familiar process? Yep. Because you guys have all been through this before. Now you've sold that property. When you sell a property that has a lien on it, the lien's paid off at closing, correct? Well, guess what? The bank in this case is the IRA. So where is that principal, interest, points, all that kit and caboodle going to go? Right back to the self-directed account. And the profits are 100% tax sheltered. If you take 0 nuggets away from today, I want you to take this one away. So what is this beautiful word on your screen? ROTH, Roth. Okay. There are 2 tax environments in this country. How many?
2.
Okay. You have tax deferred, which is the traditional one. You put money in, you take the deduction today, and then you just kick that little tax can down the road so that when we turn 59 and a half and we want to take that money to live on because we are retired, guess what? Uncle Sam's going to get that piece of the whole darn pie when it's big, fat, and juicy. So in the late 90s, in comes the Roth. Okay, so the Roth is the opposite. There's a Roth IRA, which is personal, and a Roth 401k, which is a business account. And I'll go over those in more detail. But when you put money in a Roth, okay, you're putting money after tax, meaning you're paying Uncle Sam on his piece of the pie while it's free. Okay, he gets a bite. And then we're going to grow it and grow it and grow it and grow it to this big, fat, juicy pie. And then at 59 and a half, you're going to take that money out as you see fit. You could literally wake up that morning and take out the whole pie. And guess how much you're going to pay in taxes? 0. So let's talk about my triple threat. Okay. This is where I'm going to fill this out and I'm going to have you guys take a picture. Okay. But I'm going to explain. It's the same way like a corporate 401k is, but majority of us are either in corporate and we're side hustling. So we have our side hustle LLC, or this is your full-time hustle. Okay. Do majority of you on here have an entity that's earning income with no W-2 employees?
Yes.
Is that extra operating? Okay. Very good. So this is your company at the top. Okay. And you could be any of the above. You know, I'm not an attorney. I'm not here to tell you, do an S corp, do a C corp. You know, typically I see a LLC tax as an S corp. Okay. In your company, there's you. That's the stick figure in the middle. In a 401k, you guys, this is the 401k for the solopreneur. That's the solo part. Okay. But there's 2 roles. There are only 2 hats in a 401k, employer and employee. But how many heads do you have? 1? Me too. How many hats can you wear at one time? We're not going to answer that. But we're going to start with the employer side. Okay. Now, I always joke and say, as a business owner, do you want more write-offs or more write-offs? Always more. You know, so this is the tax deferred side. So this is the first tax environment I talked about. When you put money in this bucket, you're reducing your taxable income by that amount. Okay. So the amount is 25% of the net of the company up to $46,000. Okay. So much more than an IRA. IRAs only go up to $7,000, $8,000 if you're over 50, right? This is why large companies have the company 401k and not the company IRA plan. Now, those of you who flip, would that help you offset some cap gains? Probably. Help you keep a little bit more in your pocket? Sure. Let's go back to the fun part. You know, tax-free, right? We're talking about that sexy tax-free stuff, Amanda. Let's go back to that. Well, the employee portion of this, because remember, you're both, you can pay yourself in your company. You could turn around and pay yourself $23K or $30,500 if you're over 50 this year. You can turn around and put all of that into this side of the plan, and it will grow tax-free forever. You follow? So much more than what you can put in an IRA. You know, so that goes to like my summary of benefits. And this is where you can take that screenshot, guys. It says you can put in larger contribution limits. There's only 2 tax environments. You got them both in one plan, baby. There are some really cool tax strategies I'm not going to go to the weeds on today, but I'm going to tell you guys, if you listen to podcasts and you've heard financial strategies talking about mega backdoor Roth IRA, this is the plan that they do it in. Okay. Now, I just want to make sure I'm setting that tone, because this call would go like for 4 hours if we went down that rabbit hole. This next one is there's one instant gratification tool that lives in my world, and this is the only plan you can do it on. It's a restriction-free loan. So if you need more capital today, guys, and you have an old 401k or IRA, listen up. I'm going to go into detail on this in this next slide. The last one's no UBIT. Okay, and that's not a typo. It actually stands for unrelated business income tax, or UDFI is another acronym for the same thing. But that is when you use leveraging. We're all a fan of OPM, right? 401ks can actually take on a loan in the name of a 401k to buy assets. So think about that. If you have 100K in an account, you could buy 1 property outright or 2 leveraged. Which would you rather do? 2 leveraged. Now, I'll tell you what, when you do this in an IRA, it triggers that nasty acronym there, UBIT. That's a 37% tax on the borrowed portion when you do that strategy in an IRA. Guess how you avoid it? You do it in a qualified plan. What's a qualified plan, Amanda? A Roth Solo 401k. So again, this is just knowing for your strategy. So what strategies do we use leveraging for? You know, rentals, flipping, MERS, any type of partnering. When you hear of those large syndications or apartment buildings where they're raising private capital, there's always leveraging on the back end. It's with a non-recourse loan. That's something I need to mention here, is it has to be a non-recourse loan. And what that means, guys, that's just a asset-based only loan is another way to say that term. It just means you're not personally guaranteeing the debt. It's actually a good IRS rule. You're not personally guaranteeing the debt. It's not on your FICO. It's not on your debt to income ratio. It's just the property itself that's securing. Okay, so if you have old 401ks and IRAs, and you say, Amanda, this retirement stuff's great, but I need more cash flow today, listen up. I understand in acquisition mode, we are always keeping a list of the cheapest capital to the most expensive. Usually you're starting with like your line of credits, and then you go down to like conventional private money, hard money is usually what that ladder looks like. Well, here, guys, 401k, you can borrow against it 50% or 50,000, whichever's first. Okay. And that's a Department of Labor limit. That's not me. But when you do that, you pay yourself back over 5 years. So it's a 60-month fully amortized loan where you're paying yourself back at prime +2. So my key here is you're paying yourself back. So when you make those payments, it's going back into your 401k. It doesn't come to us at Specialized. It's just like forced savings. So now this kicked out that number one slot and took its place as far as cheap capital because you're paying yourself. Now, what can you use it for? I said it's restriction free. If you need cash flow today, go put it as a down payment on a property. If you need gap funds to finish your flip, you can use this. You can use it for more marketing. You could use it for any of those things that are listed here on your screen. There's literally no restrictions. You could just say, hey, it's my money. I want to borrow 50K of it. Boom. There's no qualifier. This request, you guys, is literally a one-pager and takes 3 to 5 business days. So I want to show, and I want to be respectful of time tonight. So an example of a rental property in a retirement account. You have it funded. Find a deal, right? You're going to close on it, and property management's going to do their thing. What's their thing? Collecting your money, right? Where are they going to send those rents? Right back to the retirement account, 100% tax sheltered. So that's how you calculate your ROI. When you have folks that are looking at you, we'll think of your own accounts. When you look at those colorful charts and graphs, and you're like, what's my return on investment? And it shows you like 1 year, 5 year, 10 years. And you're like, but what is my take home? It's very easy to calculate when you're looking at your take home on a rental property. It's very easy to gauge. It reads more like a checking account ledger price. So what if we've got a rental property opportunity hot in our lap, but you've got husband and wife both have a 401k. Let's say it's, just for round numbers, it's 100K property. Each have 50K in their account, and they do the deal. What would you do outside of a retirement account? You go find some money to borrow, or you partner with someone, right? You figure out a way to make the deal work. You can partner with other retirement accounts. You could partner a retirement account and an entity. You can partner, there's certain people that you can't do business with directly, but when you partner, you can partner with anybody because there's no commingling of funds, right? So it's staying compliant with our fund IRC 4975, right? We're not self-dealing. So if you said, hey, I have this deal, I like this retirement account stuff, but I need a little cash flow here today. How could I do that? You can partner so that maybe half's going to your LLC, half's going to the retirement account. As long as everything's split 50-50 or whatever that percentage is, expenses and profits, all good. You just couldn't buy each other out. If you want to exit, you got to sell it to a third party. Arm's length, no one up and down in the family tree. Now, leveraging. See how this is very repetitive? When you have a mortgage though, guys, you got to pay it every month. Where are you paying it from? You're paying it from the retirement account. And it goes right back to the non-recourse lender. And you're going to rinse and repeat that cycle month after month after month. Easy peasy, right? Think of it like a separate operating account. That's the easiest thing I could say. Now, for those of you that do flips, okay, can you flip in a retirement account? Yes, you can. Okay. This is a structure for my flippers, and this is an optional structure. I've heard all the time, oh, I need checkbook control. That's not a thing, guys. Checkbook control is not like a unicorn product. That is just when an IRA, 401k, or a group of accounts own an LLC. You get an LLC, you get this fancy EIN. And when you have a fancy EIN, guess what you can do? You can go to your local bank and get a business checking account. Okay. And then you just operate, you come to us and show us those three things that you did because the LLC is owned by the 401k, and we move the money down to that checking account. Why does this work well for flippers? How often do you have to go back to Home Depot or Lowe's because some supplies were forgotten or something didn't come through on the order, or you have to pay someone for labor that day because so-and-so didn't show up? For those of you that have managed project, that's just real life. So to have that instant access to a debit card is reality. So when you have more of an active investment, this is typically a structure that would make sense. Now, I want to mention something because I always have one that's like, ooh, I'm going to flip all my properties in this stuff. Because when you flip and sell, guys, there's no capital gains tax when you sell in a retirement account. That's huge.
Nice.
I'm going to do all my deals in here. Well, you can't make it look like you're running a business. The IRS is going to get you with that U-bit tax. They're going to come and sneak up on you. So you have to be careful there. But what constitutes as a business? Attorneys, and again, it's always the legal folks, that I've heard render an opinion on this, usually say like 3 to 4. It's the same thing with like wholesaling. That's an active investment. But rental properties, private money lending, those are all passive. So those you can do. But yeah, that I wanted to give you guys just kind of so you can see some of the flow. And also introduce you to some other folks that aren't me. But this is our team. This is Keith and Edwin I mentioned before. They're our co-founders here. And these are some of our team and our kids in our family. Because I'm sure you guys are, spending your hump day with me because, why not? I'm joking. Because you're looking to better yourself, your business, your family, right? And that's the same reason as to why, we do what we do here at the company. I shared my experience with you guys. I've been with corporate, like I've seen corporate greed. Like that's not us. Our Start with Why, if you guys have ever read that book by Simon Sinek, it's if I have enough conversations and connect with enough folks to even just plant some, like a fraction of the seeds we covered today, and that helps you, your business, or your family get that much closer to, what they said, financial freedom. That money isn't financial freedom, but you can't drink or give from an empty cup. It does make things that much easier, and if you can pass that down to your kids, like that's a win. Whether that happens today, tomorrow, or 15 years from now, that's a win in our book. So that's like the why, we started. And I know, JJ, you and I have talked about this. It's a people business, right? Like when I sit down with, and those of you that I have sat down with one-on-one before, it's a matter of when it makes sense. It's not if, that's the key. Because we're all doing this for the bigger picture. So I'm going to give you guys like an advanced golden nugget. So this is like skipping ahead to chapter 12. Just FYI. You're doing it for the generations, right? Like, I don't want my kids to want for anything. I want them to do better than us. And I'm sure you do the same. To have an IRA, let's start with that. There's 3 things you need, JJ. A heartbeat, earned income, and a social security number. So how does a 7-year-old get earned income? Just breaking child labor laws and saying screw it. That's kind of one thing. Taking it back old school. Get your butt out there and get to work.
It's called chores.
But yes. But they can work in the business, right? Like they could model and be on recorded presentations. Like I know I've got a filter on here, so you probably can't see my phone, but I always, any CPA will tell you document. But seriously though, what could your kids do in your business? I've got pictures of my kids sanding walls, holding for rent signs, My daughter does a mean imitation of me talking about those 410Ks. If I have a Roth IRA, you should too. She's 12 and full of sass, so it is pretty entertaining. I should see how much we can get that one to trend, JJ. I have room to aspire to in the social media world. We'll say that. But my point is, they have to have that earned income. But here's my other thing. Like, I only have 2 kids. And who on here has more than 2 kids? How many do you have, Jose?
4.
4 kids? Who has more than 4 kids?
What's that?
I said, anybody on here have more than 4 kids? This is always a fun game. Someone, by record I've seen was 11. I was like, wow. That's like baseball team and spares. But my point in asking that, so you can relate. Your second doesn't have as much as your first. You don't have as much for your third as you did your first and your second. It just comes down to that time thing. And that's like admitting guilt as a parent. Like, you want everyone to have the same, right? But it just gets to like time, capacity, and resources. So when we get into that like time and resources thing within our business, how do we solve it? Deal structure, right? So you can have all of these accounts, right? You got to fund every bucket. I mean, even on the screen, I'd have to do 5 deals a year outside of what I'm doing actively just to make this everybody like winning equally. Is that realistic? Not for a lot of folks. I know in my case, it's not. I'm full-time. I travel a lot, all the things. You could partner them all together in an LLC. Is that possible? Yeah. That's what we would do if all of us were trying to go in on a deal. We'd form an LLC, right? Everyone owns a share. Okay. That's the same thing here. All the accounts own a share. What does that give you? One operating account. So if you do that deal for private lending or rental property, that's a cash cow. Guess what? Everybody owns a percentage of that LLC, based on what they put in. So now you have everyone earning tax-free profits in this scenario. So keep it simple, one easy operational account. Everybody's earning tax-free profits. This is just an example of deal structure. And the other thing I will say we do, because I mentioned it before, as far as fees, like we make this so you doesn't break the bank. Like we have a family plan that's fixed and flat and includes unlimited accounts for the household. You can get super fancy with this, because I think that's one of my other pet peeves is when you hear this like estate planning stuff, it just gets like uber expensive. We made that the case so it's not. So anywho, I'm sure when you're hearing all of these acronyms, IRAs, 401ks, it's kind of making you go, oh my God, Amanda, JJ, why'd you bring her on here? Oh. Okay, I know you've got questions. It might be making your head spin. You're probably getting a bit creative. You giving your time to me today, I'm going to offer and reciprocate the same thing back. I've had it here the whole time because JJ would kill me if I didn't. You could always hop right on my calendar. This will be in the show notes and everything too. But you've dedicated this time to me. Let's hop on a one-on-one, see where you're at. What makes sense? Whether it's your own accounts or your old 401k, I need that 401k loan, or I need to figure out how to raise private money. What does that conversation look like? What does the email intro look like? Let's chat. I'm more than happy to help. But it's your money, it's your future, it's your way, guys. Do it your way. Like, if somebody else is telling you weather the storm, say that storm's not good enough. I'm gonna do it my way. That's the whole point of self-direction. So I've got my info. This is my team member, Michael Liello. I'm going to share his info on here too. He does a lot of our, heads up our education for like our family plans and a lot of the strategic advanced planning. So can't be one man army, one woman army, right? So I'm going to open it up to questions, guys. What do we got?
Savannah, you're on with Amanda. What's your question?
So everything's phenomenal. Thank you for sharing all this. But my question was for my wife. She's already got a pretty decent 401k through her job. Can that be transferred over to?
So she's currently employed?
Yes.
Okay. So how I'm going to ask you a personal question.
Sure.
How old's your wife?
She's 44.
Okay. So I'm going to have you write this down. As a qualifying event is typically when you don't work there anymore or you're 59 and a half, when it's
Got
your
it.
current employer's 401k. And I'll put this in the chat for everybody too, because I'm sure others have this question. You want to call up the provider. So if, Fidelity holds for 401k, call up Fidelity and say, hey, does our plan allow for an in-service rollover? I'm going to type that right now. Okay. That is the specific term. Now, if that person flies back right away and says, no, they didn't look, because every 401k is written differently. They have to look up the plan documents, which is like a 100-page something document. They have to figure that out. If they say yes, she can roll. Usually it's the vested balance while still being employed. If they say no, they appreciate all that time. Can you verify that for me in writing? Because trust but verify. But to ask about that restriction-free loan I talked about, all 401ks have that option, but employers can restrict it. And we learned this lesson the hard way in COVID. But yeah, and if she's uncomfortable having that conversation, hop on my calendar. We'll just do a quick conference call. I do them all the time.
Awesome. Thank you.
Troy Caudell, you are on with Amanda Holbrook. What's your question?
Yeah, I just had a quick question.
Sure.
Curiosity. I don't have my own family, but I have 4 nieces and 7 great nieces and nephews. Can I use them like you were showing with kids?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Great. I
Absolutely.
love hearing that.
And you are going to be the favorite uncle. But yeah, you could absolutely do that. You could also do it. I have a client that does it the opposite way, so he does it for his parents, and then him and his wife, because it's kind of morbid to think of it that way, but it's estate planning. Who's going to inherit those IRAs?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But he's also making sure that his parents are taken care of while they're in retirement, because he knows how to make the machine crank, right?
I love it.
That works great.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I'll tell you another one too. On that in-service rollover, I should have shared this, but I had a doc in I was in Utah, and same like hospital system for like 30 years, and explained the in-service rollover. And initially they told us no, and he kept pushing. He was able to move, a very large sum of his account. And then I swear to goodness, he did like a lunch and learn and told all his colleagues, because they started doing the same thing. So my point is, if I'm sure there's more than one person that's in that scenario, if you don't ask, you'll never know. So always push.
Yeah.
There you go.
Great question, Troy.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Troy. Good to see you. Tyler Irons. Tyler, you're on with Amanda. What's your question?
Your professional setup there, Tyler.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. How are you, Amanda?
Great. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you. My question is, are you able to wrap this up into a trust?
So where trusts come in is the beneficiary.
Okay.
And because when you hear specialized trust, that's the type of license that we hold to be a passive custodian.
Okay.
So where revocable or revocable trust come into play here is listed as the beneficiary of the account. So heaven forbid anything happened to you, it's left to the family trust.
Got it. Feed into the trust. Perfect. That was my question.
Yeah. I'll note something for you since you're talking about, inheritance and beneficiaries. Because they changed the rules these past couple years with when you inherit accounts, they have to be distributed over 10 years. When it's your spouse is the only person on the planet that can inherit an account, and they have the decision to make it their own, or they can make it inherited where they have to do that distribution over 10 years.
Got it.
Yeah. So always have that. Note that. I have a lot of clients that'll list their spouse as their primary and their trust as their contingent.
Got it. Okay. Makes sense. Thank you.
Figured I'd throw that 2 cents in there if that helps. Great.
That helps.
It all helps.
It all helps. Thank you so much. Okay. Tyler, good to see you, my friend.
Yep, you too. Thank you.
Heidi Tesla, you're on with Amanda Holbrook. What's your question?
Hi, Amanda. How are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
Good. I'm great. The good news is you already answered like 4 or 5 of my questions. So,
Awesome.
so that's really great. So I will keep it quick. As far as the just any accounts that we have out there, you just answered the question about the in-service rollover, but other accounts we might have that were from previous, employers and things like that. Is there anything specific in terms of recon for us to do, like prior to going to having a conversation, finding out certain things about the accounts, or
It's really just pull your copies of your most recent statements.
okay.
Is really the only recon I would say that you want to do.
Awesome.
But yeah, that qualifying, like, hey, it was an old employer's plan, tells you you have the green light already.
Okay, great. And then is there any length of time, say you're using the money for your own business or for private money lending, are there any restrictions on lengths of time that the money can be out of the accounts?
No, there's no like lending matrix or anything here, so it's what two parties agree on.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. It's been really helpful.
JJ, you set her up like she was going to have a novel.
No, she's awesome. I love her. And on that same question, let me ask you. I mean, once you take it out, I mean, how long can you keep it out? Not indefinitely. I mean, there's got to come a point in time when it's got to go back in, right?
No, so it depends on how you structure the deal. If you're lending on something that's flipping, the money comes back when the asset is sold. Okay. But if you're lending to it, think of Shark Tank, guys. I'm lending money to a company for, 10% of their equity. Okay. Now you own a percentage of their equity inside your retirement account. So could that money be out indefinitely? Sure. And it could be hopefully kicking off some handsome returns indefinitely too.
I mean, what I'm getting at, that IRA belongs to somebody, and let's say you get to the point where they become deceased.
Yeah.
So
then the next person
don't those funds have to pull back in then at that point in time?
No, they inherit the assets as is.
Okay. All right. Cool. We got a couple more questions here.
Liquidate.
Big Mike, you're on with Amanda. What's your question?
Big Mike.
Hey, how's it going, guys? Amanda, JJ, thank you so much for making this possible. So, question for you guys, or for Amanda. Amanda, my 401ks got wrapped up on an overfunded life insurance policy to grow my cash value, but I'm a union worker. I don't have a 401k. I have a pension. Is it different with pensions?
Okay, so pensions, as long as you're no longer in the union, you can roll those over. I have run into like 2 or 3, and it's usually an electrical union that they wouldn't let them move.
That's what I am, a journeyman lineman.
Are you?
Yeah.
I literally just had one. He was trying to do an oil and gas deal, and like I feel like we were arguing with them over the phone, and they were like, no, they couldn't move it. Yeah. So it's worth calling in. But if you're no longer, it's only if you're no longer, like the pensions that I have moved. Like I've moved plenty of drop plans and whatnot, like firefighters, police officers, etc. Usually, if you're no longer participating, you roll those too.
The only loophole I found is you have to be in disability for about 45 days, and then they tax you a lot. But other than that, my hands are tied with the pension.
Yeah, you don't want to get taxed. That's the key.
Right.
Like when I do that movement, there's no tax. It's not a taxable event.
Okay.
Like when you took those out to fund that life insurance policy, you paid taxes.
Okay.
And then funded it.
Also, you mentioned when you do a deal, you send the money to escrow, the title company.
Mm-hmm.
If you receive that money to your bank account, do you get taxed at that point?
You should not be receiving that money to your bank account. It should go back straight from the title company back to the retirement account.
Okay.
It's prohibited to receive.
Okay. Good to know.
That would be
Big Mike.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Big Mike. Good to see you. We have the Denise Branham. Denise, you are on with Amanda Holbrook. How are you?
I love everyone putting in their blank cards, by the way.
Yeah, I knew nothing about this before I started in PACE's community, so I appreciate the knowledge and information. So is there a difference in a self-directed Roth IRA and just a self-directed IRA?
So self-directed is just an overarching umbrella. So you could self-direct a Roth, you could self-direct a traditional, you could self-direct a 401k. Yeah. So a traditional and a Roth, the difference is the tax environments. So the traditional money you put it in, it's growing tax deferred. So you're playing that kick the can game. So when you pull it out at 59 and a half, you'll pay taxes, whatever income bracket you're in at that time. And the Roth, when you put money into that Roth, okay, it grows, it's after tax money. Uncle Sam already got his piece of your pie. So it's growing tax free forever. So if you use that Roth, I mean, if you ask me which is the better environment, I'm always going to say Roth. Yeah. So if you haven't started a Roth, definitely start one. And then you can partner it, whether you're doing like private lending, gator lending, wholesaling in a Roth are all great strategies to be able to beat that bad boy up in a short amount of time.
There you go.
And you recommend an LLC to have that, like an LLC structure, or?
So IRAs are personal, so you don't need that LLC because they're attached to your social. Where an LLC comes in is if you're a company, you may want a self-directed 401k. Hey guys, how you know when it's time to have a 401k if you have a company? It's literally, have you run into the champagne problem of paying too much in taxes? It's time. If you say, hey, Amanda, I've got an old 401k plan from my previous employer and I want to do that 401k loan, it is time. Like, that's how you're going to access it. But yeah, if you tell us what you're looking to do, that's the cool thing about when I say I'm a passive custodian, I can share with you my experience. Hey, I've seen clients structure this A, B, and C. And you can say, A sucks, Amanda, but B and C are great, and it's fine. Like no awkward silence, pause, or anything like that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Denise, thanks for coming on today. Rob, you're on with Amanda Holbrook. How are you?
Hey, Rob.
Hey, Amanda. How you doing?
Great to meet you, man.
I really love your energy. Your vibe is really good. I love it. But hey, I just really want to kind of speak to what you're talking about because I'm new to the community, relatively new, about 4 months.
Okay.
But come to find out, I got a little educated on 401ks. And with that said, my sister, she's paycheck to paycheck is what she's been living. To then me engaging and just asking and conversation. Hey, I know you have a 401k, so what do you have in it? And lo and behold, she has a nice amount in there, and I've already pointed her in a direction. I mean, prior to this call, I would have routed her your way, but it's saving her life, is what it is.
That's awesome. See,
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I mean, she's going paycheck to paycheck, and then she finds out what she has. She has just right under $400,000, and now it's just going to save her life.
Absolutely. And it's, here's the other thing too, like, and that's so very heartwarming because, and it's the difference between just knowing what you can do. Like I've ran into that person that was retired, living paycheck to paycheck. And like all she wanted to do, it wasn't like, oh, I want this grandiose beach life. And she just wanted to watch her freaking grandkids, but she was being forced to go work because, to earn that paycheck. And what we were able to do is she was draining from her 401k, to your point, just to supplement those months that she couldn't make ends meet. So we got that 401k. She did hers in real estate, and it was just the rents. She was able to generate enough rents to replace her income, quit the job, and go watch her grands. And that right there, guys, that's just the
Yeah, the crazy thing is she's actually going to be a private money lender before I am. So I just love it.
It's an awesome story. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, well, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much. I'm going to reach out and schedule one-on-one though.
Absolutely. I look forward to it.
Thank you.
Rob, thank you again for joining us, my friend. Always good to see you. Well, Amanda, I think you just dropped a ton of gold nuggets on the group. I saw pens moving and people smiling, and
good.
You bring so much value, but the real value you bring is your heart and your genuine generosity.
I got you.
I say all the time, it's about the people we do business with, not the business we're doing, not the business we're engaging in with people, but the people we're doing business with. Hey, I got two last questions before we wrap up with you. Um, if people want to catch up with you, they're watching on Zoom weeks and months down the line, much less the people on call today. And I know you've touched on it. You've got some information on your background there. Um, what is the preferred way for people to reach you? Would it be your phone number, your email, the QR
Yeah.
code?
Preferred way, like if you want to have a conversation, just hop right on my calendar.
Okay.
Other than that, shoot me an email. And that's always the easiest. That way I'm a jet setter. You know me during like event season. I'll be driving to an event tomorrow and hopefully have a voice. But yes, no, thank you, JJ. I appreciate just your network is definitely your net worth. And when it's genuine and it's put together with the right just heartstrings, and it lasts, and
Yeah.
I think that's a biggie.
I
So
got one last question for you. And I know you've touched on this all throughout what you've been speaking about. My group's a networking group. It's not about cold calling or short sales or multifamily or anything like that. It's about networking and building relationships. There are so many different groups on the horizon right now that have people coming every single day to join their real estate investment communities. Some of these people are brand new, some are extremely experienced, some have never used Facebook before, and some have been using it since junior high school. Probably still use it the way they use it in junior high school. But these investors today, whether new experience or new to Facebook or not, they don't always know how to use social media. And I'll just say Facebook as a business tool. What is the importance of networking and learning how to use social media as a business tool to the success of one's business?
Yeah, it is. It's not what you know, it's who you know. I mean, hands freaking down. And so in today's world, I mean, you can't be all the places all the time. So what social media allows you to do is to connect with those folks that otherwise you would never have the chance to connect with. So get out there, be authentic, be genuine, be real with your communication. If you can't get back to somebody, just tell them, hey, life's a little crazy. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Just that acknowledgement is enough. But that, wherever you're at in your business, and I see this all the time, JJ, because I work with tons of entrepreneurs day in and day out. You can be one group, one conversation, one relationship away from it changing your case.
Yeah.
Just changing the whole thing, flipping the whole script. And so it's very important to always be out there and connecting, especially in this ever-changing world.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Be open, be big, but also be intentional, be genuine, say what you're going to do and follow through. Don't be the one that just over promises and under delivers. I always use this term, guru versus duru. Be the difference. Be the change.
You had made a comment before we closed that I wanted to follow up on. And, in the days of our fathers and grandfathers, they would say, business isn't about what you know, it's about who you know. However, I say today, in today's world of technology and social media and networking and meeting people from all over the world, it's not who you know, but it's who knows you. And to make yourself visible, to leverage social media, because people need to know who you are so they do business with you. Amanda, I really want to thank you for coming on today. You were outstanding. If you guys are watching on YouTube right now, please like Amanda's video. And please put in your comments, your takeaways, what you found informative, how I can improve what I'm doing for the calls. We're going to have phenomenal people coming up, like infamous Steve Trang, out of a phenomenal young man. Oh, yeah. Amanda's going, yeah, I know Steve Trang. So I've got, Steve and I are going to talk shortly here. Guys, if you want to join my group here, click the QR code, the turquoise one. It's going to say register now. If you want to follow us on YouTube, click the purple QR code to get to the YouTube channel and subscribe to that. Other than that, if you guys are on the call, don't go away. I think Heidi's going to run the open forum. And Amanda, I just want to thank you for joining us. If you hang on for a second, they're all going to say goodbye. But if you guys are watching on YouTube, we'll see you later. Amanda, we'll see them in the world of virtual networking, right?
Yes, we will.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining
All
us.
right.